I mean, for people that don't know, could you just give a bit more information about that campaign?
In 2013, the RSC announced their casting for The Orphan of Zhao, which is a Chinese classic, often referred to as the Chinese Hamlet, particularly by academics in the West. And it was like, yeah, this is great. When a group of us, as individuals, that was before we came together, started looking into this, it was a 17-strong company of actors. And there were only 3 actors of British East or Southeast Asian heritage in the entire cast.
Right. None
of them had been cast in what I personally would have called protagonistic roles. Not that there are any, there are small roles there. Everything is equally important, but a maid, and then a maid, the doctor's son, and then sort of basically part of the company at one point being puppeteers for kind of like a devil hound. The maid gets her head chopped off quite quickly, quite early on. The sad thing is, when this came out, we were all saying if they had cast the orphan using an actor of East Asian or Southeast Asian heritage, I reckon we would have all gone, yes, one character, but they didn't. And what it kind of led to, and the way that it was being advertised using the picture of a Chinese orphan, it just got us all thinking, look, it's great that they want to do it, but where are we in the retelling, in the shaping, in the actual being able to share this story, our heritage? We're kind of like hardly anywhere to be seen. And that's no denigration, and a huge kudos, and it should have been a huge time for celebration for those 3 actors who managed to get into the RSC. That is amazing. And it should have been celebrated. Instead it was marred by this, sort of, oh, well, the reason that we've only got this amount of actors is because they have to go in, sort of in through threads, doing a Pushkin, a Brecht, and I can't remember what the other one was. And it was like, mate, we look more Russian than the people that you've cast in the Pushkin. But then again, if you're only thinking about white Russia,
yeah.
So this kind of like launched 12 of us to basically say, this is ridiculous. You have to stop appropriating these stories. If you're going to do it, then at least start seeing more British East Asian and Southeast Asian talent. I mean, we got into a bit of a spat with Greg Doran, and sort of it all got a bit uncomfortable. But then I have to say, 5 years on, hats off to Greg, utter respect to him, to be able to stand up in public, in a room of people and be able to say, I got it wrong. And I think the RSC have been amazing in their pursuit of trying to embody and actually build more natural diversity and inclusion in the work that they do, whether that's classical or contemporary. And that is brilliant. It will take time, but they are doing it step by step, and that should be hugely applauded. And I hope that, sort of in spite of all that's been going on recently, those efforts will continue, and we will get a broader spectrum in, sort of, and people being presented, doing classic British plays, and we are part of British culture, and we should be allowed to participate in that. So that, I think, started the movement of basically people coming together. And it was, sort of, we have a voice, and if we come together, we can amplify that voice. And I think it was the first time that many people from a huge disparate, not disparate, but wide range of creative disciplines and sort of outlets came together and said, yeah, this is nuts. This is ridiculous. The RSC was openly advertising it as, sort of the Chinese hammer, but where are we in that telling? And that created, I think, a movement, because there were quite a lot of younger people who sort of got involved in that, and they realized, and it was a scary time for everybody, but I think we all survived that, and the earth didn't come in down on our heads. We didn't stop getting cast or being seen for things, and I think people realized that actually, yes, you can protest, you can actually say, I don't like this and why, and survive. And the world isn't going to end. You're not going to be blackballed. There is always a risk that, I think, sort of that is a risk that in any form of activism that you may be, sort of shunted aside, or people may try to exile you. But that's an inherent risk in being an advocate, I feel. And if you're not making people feel uncomfortable, then you're not doing it right, I don't think. It's a strange thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that, I think, started that awareness that, yes, when we come together, we can do it. And by and large, I think that's been a really good thing, sort of to try and get people together as a whole, but also to celebrate and realize that there is a uniqueness, like any other community in Britain, that we shouldn't lose. I am very different from the next BC actor. My upbringing means that I am, to a certain extent, a curiosity. I in some senses, throughout all of my career, and to a certain extent still going on, I am not accepted by the country into which I was adopted, and there are a significant amount of people from my culture of heritage who don't accept me because they don't perceive me as being authentically Chinese, whatever that means. That's usually down to the fact that I don't speak either Cantonese or Mandarin. Well, the little I do speak is appalling. But then I was raised here. English is my first language. That's what being British East Asian to me means, and that doesn't mean that I deny and I'm not proud of my cultural heritage, which I am, which makes me the artist that I am. I am firmly in between two very, very different cultures, and I am now, sort of in the ripe old age of over 55, finally comfortable with what I am not. And if that makes other people uncomfortable, well, sorry, that's your problem, not mine. It's taken me a long while to get here, and a long while to understand what that means to me, and how that makes me, not only as a person, but also as an artist, incredibly strong. It's also what makes, I think, sometimes other people not like me so much, because I don't conform to what I think is the easy path to go down, which is to go down the, sort of don't rock the boat. We'll stick to our lane. We'll only do this type of art because we know we can get funded for it. As far as I'm concerned, sort of being an artist, you are constantly challenging people. That may only be in an entertainment setting, but for me, theatre is about having a conversation, and having a conversation that lasts longer than 2 hours of the traffic of the play, hopefully, because you are raising issues, you are putting a situation forward for people to experience whom they might not even think about that. And if you are putting things in front of people in a way that they can possibly engage with, think with, and may disagree with, but it's that first step of that conversation, of that extended discussion, That's what it's about. It's about communication. That's, for me, this is what this art form is about, and how you communicate is you have a wonderful variety of tools to do that. You know, and I'm lucky I've been able to dabble in most of those tools. So that's what, for me, that's what art and creativity is about. Otherwise, why bother? You know, you may as well just do it in your bedroom and do it for yourself and your mates and your family. If you know the message, you're wanting to get a message, a point of view, a different way of thinking, a way of people beginning to empathize with things that perhaps they've never thought about or would never encounter. And I think that's an invaluable skill to have, along with the other, you know, sort of skills that we have, which is creativity, is being curious, is being agile in our thought, is challenging through our art, is actually being able to speak to those dark corners, to take people there in a safe way. And I think that is, you know, sort of all the best theatre and the plays, they have that in common, that they make us question, whether it's ourselves, our society, whether it's us as individuals or part of a microcosm or the macro. It makes us question what we do, who we are, our humanity, our part of being a human being, and how that interacts and engages with others, and how we do that and why we do that, and what happens when we deliberately misconstrue, when we deliberately turn a blind eye to those things, what happens when we allow those negative emotions to drive our actions, and what happens if we don't concede to those base negatives, emotional negatives. What happens to us as people, as communities, as tribes, as a globe, you know, the possibilities of that. And I think that's something that that theatre has always done, that cinema has always done, has made us question ourselves through the medium of entertainment.
So, I mean, if you were to give, let's say, 3 advice to anyone working in the arts and the BESEA community, upcoming or existing already, or like me, probably past it, but what would your 3 tips be in terms of getting us more noticed, giving us more potent?
I think if you have a skill, or you have a passion for writing, or you have another artistic skill, then apply that, use it, don't give up. You know, advice, I'm probably the worst person to give advice, as you know, sort of, I mean, it's taken me so long to get to where I am, for various reasons, not, you know, sort of, a lot of it is to do with the visibility, the recognition, the opportunities that are naturally afforded to people of colour. If you put into that somebody who is not only of colour but female and over a certain age, you're on a hiding to nothing, or you would think. But I think there is room. Never be afraid. I would say never be afraid of speaking out. It can sound quite scary if it's in the rehearsal room or on a set, but I think you might be surprised the allies that you will find. The scariest thing is opening your mouth and saying that first sentence of usually no. It is a scary thing, and I understand why people don't do that. I understand why people prefer the silence or have been silenced to do that. I think irrespective of what heritage you are, as a wider community, I think realize that we have to take care of each other, because nobody else is going to take care of us, you know. And it is not about, you know, sort of, I think yes, of course, we all want to get on. We all want to get that next job. But I think in order for us to get those next jobs, we have to take care of not just ourselves, but everybody else around us. And I think sometimes it's very easy to forget to be human in certain conditions when you're on set or when you're in a rehearsal room or whatever. And it only takes a couple of seconds to be polite, to be kind, whereas it might take a few more to think not to do that, or not to be supportive. And I've done it myself and walked away from things in the past and then suddenly thought, shit, I should have said something. And I think we all regret those moments. And I think we all, whatever our backgrounds are, as human beings, as artists, have to do better when we encounter those situations. I think it is beholden upon us as people who help to shine lights sometimes, if we're lucky enough, that we carry that on, not just when we're making art, but outside of the rehearsal room or during the process of making that art. We should be mindful that we shouldn't be treading on other people in order to make that art.
Yeah.
There are ways of doing that without being negative or hurtful or harmful to other people. So I guess, yeah, having said I'm the worst person, yeah, that's my
Now, what do you have coming up for you?
I am really excited. I'm now working with an independent production company to turn my stage play Comfort Women into a limited TV series.
Okay, that's good.
I'm working on that. Yep. I'm also working on a pilot for a black comedy, hopefully TV or web, with another independent production company. What else? I've been doing a deal of teaching, which is very, very strange. It's great that you can do it, but it's a very odd thing to do practical subjects, sort of on Zoom. And hopefully, yes, I will get to do more of that because I've really enjoyed that. I've been doing quite a lot of mentoring. Some students, officially some students, and unofficially, during the first lockdown, I held a series of digital sort of coffee meetings, and those have continued. Which I'm really happy to be able to do those, just so people can chat and stuff. I have been mentoring one or two drama students, sort of unofficially, because they've asked me to. I find that really rewarding, and actually but also quite scary in some senses. Particularly some of the things that sort of are coming out, which sadden me in terms of some, not all, but some drama schools just don't seem to have changed with the times, and that I find really depressing. And also, so the way that sort of drama students now have to cope with the payments. I am very mindful that sort of it's getting to the stage where if you're not prepared to get yourself into an awful lot of debt, or if you're not coming from a background that can financially support you, it's impossible. I think more impossible for people, or even more challenging, not impossible, for people from backgrounds like, say, myself, which was sort of working class, and also being a woman of color, to actually even conceive of thinking about going to drama school or art school or whatever, because it is just beyond their reach. And also, sort of people hearing some of the horror stories, which they are, I have to say, the exception to the rule, but they are the ones that stick in everyone's memory. How artists of colour and students of colour have been treated in the past. It puts people off, undoubtedly. Why would you want to go into a career that deliberately shuts you out of opportunities or makes it difficult for you to gain the same level of opportunity as say your white counterpart? So you have to be insane to want to go into this business, but there are enough, thankfully, insane people who want to continue this amazing tradition that we have in this country of being able to create art, theatre, film, television.
And finally, I think we need to wrap up. How do people contact you? You've got Facebook or Instagram?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Lucy Sheen, well, at Lucy Sheen, capital L, capital S. I'm on Insta, all lowercase, Lucy Sheen. I am on Facebook, actor Lucy Sheen. Yes. So please feel free to give me a poke, a nudge, or whatever. I will. I have a website, www.lucysheen.com. That's really original, isn't it? So you can drop me a line there. I will respond as soon as I can. If I don't respond immediately, it probably does mean that I'm busy. It's not that I'm not ignoring people who reach out, which is always brilliant when they do. So please feel free to give me a nudge, and I will respond.
Well, thank you, Lucy, for talking to us today. Thank you for being my first interview for BESEA.
Very well.
So this has been BESEATV. Again, please subscribe to us, please like us, please share with us. And thank you, Lucy, again, for being so inspiring and thought-provoking. So, have fun. Goodbye.
Thank you, Tony. Bye.
Bye.